At 6'3", nearly 250 pounds, Derrick Henry doesn't look like your typical running back. In fact, the average NFL running back stands under 6 feet tall. But Henry still led the league in rushing yards this year. And now he's blowing up some of the best defenses in the league as he races to the AFC Championship and possible Super Bowl berth. Henry is just a Goliath of a human, and he's been the best rusher in the country at just about every single level he's played. Before this year, or even before blasting onto the scene at Alabama, Henry was quite possibly the best high school running back ever. Let's start things off in 8th grade. Henry was so dominant that his coaches implemented the Derrick Henry rule. For when the team went up 21 points, they would take him out. Then in 2009, as a freshman, Henry ran for 2,465 yards and scored 26 touchdowns. He averaged 7.9 yards per carry, and he may have been one of the youngest players on the field, but he was already a man among boys. He followed it up his sophomore year with over 2,700 yards and 38 touchdowns. He took a little dip his junior year, at least by his standards, but in his senior year, he averaged 9.2 yards per carry for 4,261 yards and 55 touchdowns. And that was in 12 games, which comes out to over 4 touchdowns a game. A lot of numbers here, but it sounds like the Derrick Henry rule got a little more lax. Over his entire high school career, he accumulated 12,124 yards, 154 touchdowns, and 1,397 carries. It's starting to become beyond belief how he even still has his legs. In November of 2012, Henry broke the 59-year national career rushing yards record. That night, he finished the game with 482 yards and 6 touchdowns on 58 carries. His coach said, "I never worried about him getting hurt. I never really worried about him breaking down or anything like that. He just didn't show wear and tear." Before Henry even got to college, he was squatting 500 pounds to go along with 4.5 speed in the 40-yard dash. With the usage, the records, and downright unstoppable production, it's fair to say Henry is possibly the greatest high school running back ever. You could even argue he's the greatest high school player ever. So understandably, plenty of college coaches were chomping at the bit to reel in this big fish. The question was, who was going to get him? Just kidding, he decommitted from Georgia and went to Alabama. On his decision to commit, Henry said, "I love Coach Nick Saban and the rest of the coaches and the other players. I just feel like I have a chance to be very successful at that program on the field and off the field. They have been superior at my position and superior in the SEC over the last 3 or 4 years. It's looking good at Alabama, and I'm just ready to get down there and get to work." With the pipeline of Alabama running backs who came before him with Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, and TJ Yeldon, Henry would be able to slide on into an offense basically made for him. Yeldon got the bulk of the carries in Henry's freshman year, but in 2014 they split the workload. A year later, Yeldon had left for the NFL, and Henry was finally able to reclaim that workhorse title that he pretty much trademarked in high school. Maybe no game was bigger that season than the top 10 matchup versus LSU. Leonard Fournette had been making headlines coming out of the Tigers' backfield all year, but the Alabama defense shut him down with 31 yards on 19 carries. Meanwhile, Henry ran it 38 times for 210 yards, and on the national stage, he showed what type of monster he can be. There wasn't any slowdown after that. Alabama went all the way to the national championship and took down Clemson. Just like in high school, Henry broke some long-time records, topping Herschel Walker's SEC season rushing record and Sean Alexander's Alabama career rushing feat. Henry also took home the Heisman and declared for the NFL draft. Henry had proven that he's a workhorse, but some scouts kind of took this with a glass half-emptied approach. They were scared his high school in Alabama ran him so much that he wouldn't have enough left in the tank for the NFL. Still, even with Henry also being on the slower side, which you would certainly expect at that size, he was the projected second running back in the draft behind Ezekiel Elliott. And as expected, the Titans took him in the second round. In Henry's first 3 years, Tennessee split carries among the running backs. But near the end of the 2018 season, Henry began his climb to king status. After not eclipsing 60 yards at any point that season, Henry burst open on a 99-yard touchdown run. He finished the game with 4 touchdowns and 238 yards, and since that game, he's taken over the NFL. In the 2019 season, he claimed the rushing title and was the key piece for 2 major upset victories over the Patriots and Ravens to put his team in the AFC Championship and possible Super Bowl appearance. It doesn't even look like the workload has affected him one bit. He's had over 30 carries in each playoff game while averaging 188.5 yards. And to be quite honest, it doesn't look like he's going to slow down anytime soon. With the way the NFL has been trending lately, defenses have gotten smaller to keep up with speedy air attack offenses. Now Derrick Henry is hitting the reset button and playing smash mouth football. It's a reset cycle that will never be broken in this sport, and Derrick Henry is taking advantage of it.